Now we're going to talk about misplaced and dangling modifiers. If you'll remember to when we talked about adjective and adverb clauses, we talked about how those clauses each modified a different portion of the sentence. So that adjective clauses modified a noun and that adverb clauses modified either an adjective or a verb or an adverb. Misplaced modifiers are what they sound like. It's when you misplace a modifier and it leads to confusing sentences. So if you look at the definition here, it says a misplaced modifier is a word, phrase, or clause that is awkwardly placed in the sentence so that it does not describe what the writer wanted it to describe. In other words, a misplaced modifier is placed so that it does not modify what is intended to modify. To avoid this problem, place a modifier as close as possible to the word it modifies. So if you look at the sample sentence, Jeff bought an old Jeep from a crooked dealer with a faulty transmission. You're left asking the question, did the Jeep or the crooked dealer have a faulty transmission? Yes, it was the Jeep. It should be the Jeep. Therefore, the modifying phrase is awkwardly placed. The phrase with the faulty transmission should be next to the word Jeep, the word it modifies, not the crooked dealer, because generally people do not have transmissions. So you would correct it by saying Jeff bought an old Jeep with a faulty transmission from a crooked dealer. All right, then here is a second one. Sam screamed at the barking dog in his underwear. The way the sentence is written, it appears that the barking dog is wearing underwear, which is just silly. Alright, so you should correct it by saying Sam, in his underwear, screamed at the barking dog. Modifying words and phrases should be as close as possible to the word they describe, preferably right next to the word they describe. Modifiers may be placed before or after the word they describe, but the location may change the meaning of the sentence. If you look at the misplaced modifier, Francis nearly earned $50 is a completely different meaning than Francis earned nearly $50. In this circumstance, the way it's written, Francis earned nothing because she just couldn't nearly earn. The modifier must be moved. Francis did not nearly earn, she earned nearly 50. The modifier nearly is describing how many dollars she earned and thus should be placed next to the word 50. If you look at this last example as well, you can see how nearly and only change the meaning of sentences. So take a look at those examples and you can see how those modifiers, only and nearly, can drastically change the meaning of a sentence. Now, dangling modifiers is what happens when you have a modifying phrase or clause when it has no stated word to describe it. A dangling modifier is sometimes difficult to identify because our brains supply the word. To correct a dangling modifier, you must rewrite the sentence and supply the word that is to be modified. So, look at this sentence. While smoking a pipe, my cat curled up next to me. It's not entirely clear who's smoking the pipe. The only subject in this sentence is the cat. So did the cat smoke the pipe? Obviously not. Sentence does not identify who smoked the pipe. So you'd have to add to it. While I was smoking my pipe, my cat curled up next to me. Or, while smoking a pipe, I allowed my cat to curl up next to me, so that it's clear who is doing the pipe smoking. Here's another example. Climbing the mountain, a rock hit John's head. Again, with this beginning modifier, it's not clear what or who is climbing the mountain. So you have to make sure that it is clear. You have to rewrite the sentence. When John was climbing a mountain, a rock hit his head. Or climbing the mountain, John was hit on the head by a rock. So I want you to just go through and look. We have misplaced modifiers on this sheet. All right. For example, having turned sour, I threw out the milk. It appears that it is you or I that turned sour when it should be the milk. So go through, clear up these sentences by correcting the misplaced modifiers. You've got questions, then you have the answers to the previous page. And then you have some more questions about these misplaced modifiers, and then you have a couple about dangling modifiers as well. Answers to the previous page and some more sentences that you correct. Please correct these in your notebook.